I found it originally on the internet, and it looks a bit darker in the internet version, but we do what we can. Om Dum Dum Dhumavati Swaha. Today we are going to talk about the yantra, aka the Mahavidya Dhumavati. Dhumavati. We have another version of the yantra in this book. I'll show you guys right now. It is from a Nepali manuscript. Okay, this is the Nepali manuscript version, so you can notice there's like a triangle and fewer petals, but yeah, like a lot of the Mahavidyas have this general shaped kind of yantra. I think in India you can find like also newer places where they feature like the yantra in modern spaces. So yeah, I've been avoiding talking about this Mahavidya for a long time because I was truly intimidated by this idea. Like, imagine being a widow in a patriarchal society. That is just like something just scary, period. But like, yeah, I mean, they have existed throughout history, and my friend Dalib actually also has a lot of like experience somehow because of his work. Like, he has to interact with a lot of widows, which actually help his work. So that's like quite amazing to me. So let's get into the book. Let's get into the book. Okay, here's like a more rudimentary version. Looks like this. Dhumavati. Ma Dhumavati. Contemporary black and white drawing. So she is like considered to be like a bit older, and in light of like recent events in the US, I do think like it is helpful, like especially if you're in the entertainment industry, to know these types of people, because like they know the things that like mainstream stuff wouldn't want you to know, and then the only way to like get to know those secrets is like through talking to them. Dhumavati is ugly, unsteady, and angry. She is tall and wears dirty clothes. Her ears are ugly and rough. She has long teeth, and her breasts hang down. Khailish says hi. Hi. She has a long nose. She has the form of a widow. She rides in a chariot that has a banner on top decorated with a crow emblem. Her eyes are fearsome and her hands tremble. In one hand, she holds a winnowing basket, and with the other hand, she makes the gesture for conferring boons. Her nature is rude. She is always hungry and thirsty and looks unsatisfied. She likes to create strife, and she is always frightful in appearance. Dhumavati has two hands, which hold a skull bowl and a spear. Her complexion is black. She wears ornaments made of snakes, and her dress is made of rags taken from the cremation ground. The goddess should be imagined in the following way. Her complexion is like the black clouds that form at the time of cosmic dissolution. Have you guys watched the film where it starts with the world ending? I think it's called Magnolia or something. Her face is very wrinkled, and her nose, eyes, and throat resembles a crow's. She carries a broom, a winnowing fan, a torch, and a club. Her face has a venomous expression. She is very old, and she wears the plain clothes of a mendicant. She has disheveled hair, and her breasts are dry and withered. She is without mercy. She frowns. Nriti, Jeshta, and Alakshmi. Oh gosh, Jeshta. Okay, Dhumavati is barely known outside the Mahavidyas. Here's the answer again. If she has an independent cult prior to her inclusion in the group, we know nothing about it. However, Dhumavati bears striking similarities to certain goddesses who appear very early in the Hindu tradition. Jeffrey Hardison. You have 101 Dalmatians. By the way, that character, that villain, is Dhumavati. Like, if you need to tell your kids about Dhumavati, just show them that 101 Dalmatians. Some contemporary authors identified Dhumavati with certain goddesses who appeared very early in the Hindu traditions. In particular, Dhumavati is said to be the same as Nriti, Jeshta, and Alakshmi. All three of these goddesses, as we shall see, are inauspicious, dangerous, and avoided by people. Nriti is known in the Rig Veda as a dangerous goddess. Just one hymn mentions her, and its concern is to seek protection from her or ask that she be driven away. She is equated with death, bad luck, and destruction. The hymn sums up Nriti's nature very well. After 4 verses, asking the gods for renewed life, wealth, food, glorious deeds, youth, and continued long life, the following refrain is invoked. Let Nriti depart to distant places. That is, Nriti is identified with the opposites of the blessing sought. She is decay, need, anger, cowardice, decrepitude, and death. Vedic literature describes Niti in more detail and mentions her more frequently than does the Rig Veda. She is said to be dark, to be dressed in dark clothes, and to receive dark husks as her share of the sacrifice, although one passage says that she has golden locks. She lives in the south, the direction of the kingdom of the dead, is associated with pain, and is repeatedly given offerings from the specific intent with the specific intention of keeping her away from the sacrificial rituals and from the affairs of people in general. Her nature has not changed. In later Hindu tradition, she is still associated with bad luck. The goddess Jeshta also appears very early in Hindu tradition. She seems to have enjoyed a quite widespread cult during some periods. Many images of her have been found, and during the 7th and 8th centuries, she seems to have been widely known in South India. In physical appearance, she bears some similarities to Dhumavati. She is described as having large, pendulous breasts descending as far as her navel, with a flabby belly, thick thighs, raised nose, hanging lower lip, and is in color ink. Okay, ink. Let's get some colored ink. This is also a new sketch of tantric stuff. Okay, here's like the king and queen, I think, of, yeah, Alexandra, depicted as emperor and empress of India. How interesting. Any Brits out there? Let me know in the comments. Okay, ink. She's black or sometimes red, holds a lotus and a water pot, and sometimes makes a sign of protection. She wears many kinds of ornaments as well as a tilaka, an ornamental mark on her forehead, which identifies her as a married woman. So recently there's Operation Sindoor, and that is what a lot of married women wear as well. Hence, like the reference to, like, you know, the regeneration of our Hindutva future. Yes. Okay. Her hair is usually braided and piled on top of her hair or wound around her head. She has a banner depicting a crow. Sometimes a crow stands next to her. She rides a donkey or is drawn in a chariot by lions or tigers. She carries a broom. According to the Linga Purana, she was born with the gods and demons churned the ocean to obtain the nectar of immortality. She was given in marriage to the sage Dusaha, who soon discovered that his unattractive wife could not bear the sound of any kind of pious activity. Gosh, when he complained to Vishnu, Vishnu told Dusaha to go with his wife only to places where inauspicious events occur. Hence, Jeshta's popular epithet Alakshmi, she who is inauspicious. Among the places specifically mentioned as appropriate residences for her are homes where family members quarrel and elders eat food while disregarding the hunger of their children. Eventually, Dusaha abandoned Jeshta. She complained to Vishnu that she could not sustain herself without a husband, and he dictated that she would be sustained by offerings from women. This is drawn by an Arab woman. Although the text does not say so, it is probably understood that Jeshta will not enter the homes of those who propitiate her. It is also significant as a link between Jeshta and Dhumavati that her name means elder or eldest. Dhumavati, as we shall see, is usually shown as an old woman. Alakshmi, the third goddess with whom Dhumavati is identified by contemporary authors, is mentioned as early as the Sri Sukta, a very early hymn in praise of the goddess Shri. In that hymn, Shri is asked to banish her sister Alakshmi. Alakshmi is said to appear in such an inauspicious forms as need, poverty, hunger, and thirst. Lakshmi, or Shri, is her exact opposite, and the two do not dwell in the same place at the same time. By their natures, they are incompatible and are unable to exist where the other is present. Lakshmi is described as an old hag riding an ass. She has a broom in her hand, a crow adorns her banner. The crow and the broom, as we shall see, are associated with Dhumavati. The contrast between Lakshmi and Lakshmi is dramatically evident in the festival of Diwali, also known as Deepavali, and the rituals practices leading up to it. The ghosts of the dead are said to return during the 3 days before Diwali, which takes place in the autumn on the night of a new moon. The demon Bali emerges from the underworld to rule for 3 days. The goblins and malicious spirits are abroad, including Alakshmi. People invoke Lakshmi to drive these spirits away and light lamps to frighten the demons. In general, evil spirits are exorcised, especially Alakshmi, who is believed to have reigned on earth during the past 4 months when the gods were sleeping. In addition to the lighted lamps, which Alakshmi dislikes, people bang pots and pans, or play on instruments to. On another occasion, in Bengal, an image of Alakshmi is made and ceremoniously disfigured by cutting off her nose and ears, after which an image of Lakshmi is installed to signify the triumph of good luck over bad in the future. I love these. You can find them in Bollywood movies. It's pretty typical. In reading descriptions of Dhumavati, it is clear that she shares many characteristics with Nriti, Jeshta, and Alakshmi. Like Nriti and Alakshmi, she is associated with poverty and need, or is said to be poor herself, with hunger and thirst, or is said to be constantly hungry and thirsty, and with inauspicious things and bad luck. Like Nriti and Jeshta, she is sometimes said to have a dark complexion. Like Jeshta and Alakshmi, she is said to have a banner with a crown on it, and sometimes to carry a broom. Like Jeshta, she causes quarrels and has a bad temper. And finally, like Alakshmi, she is described as an old hag and is said to rule during the 4 months prior to Shukla Ekadashi, the 11th day of the waxing moon. Let's see if we can find an old woman in here. Here's an old woman. Okay. The month of Kartik, Shukla Ekadashi, the date when Vishnu wakes up after a 4-month sleep. During the 4 months when Vishnu is asleep, the soul lacks its usual luster, and auspicious events such as weddings are not performed. While the similarities between Dhumavati and these three goddesses are unmistakable and sometimes striking, and while it is likely that some modern writers are consciously patterning Dhumavati on them, and especially Alakshmi, there are important differences. One of the most distinguishing features of Dhumavati is that she is a widow. Jesha is married and has a tilaka and braided hair, signs of a married woman. I have found no mention of Nriti or Alakshmi as widows. Dhumavati is also described as ugly more often and more consistently than the other three goddesses. Her breasts are dried and withered, her face is nasty and wrinkled, her teeth are crooked or missing, her hair is gray and disheveled, and her clothes are dirty and worn. Although the other goddesses are certainly not said to be attractive, there is a stronger insistence on Dhumavati's unattractive appearance. Dhumavati is also described as fierce, frightening, and fond of blood, characteristics that are not emphasized in descriptions of the other three goddesses. Dhumavati, for example, crushes bones in her mouth, and the sound is awful. She is also said to make the noises of drums and bells, which are frightening and warlike. She wears a garland of skulls, chews the corpses of the demon Chanda and Munda, and drinks a mixture of blood and wine. Her eyes are glaring red, stern, and without tenderness. She carries Yama's buffalo horn in her hand, symbolizing death. She dwells with widows in ruined houses and in wild, uncivilized, dangerous places such as the deserts. By the way, like between Oman and Yemen, there's like a huge desert. Like, and then Oman is like a beautiful civilization. And then, yeah, like it broke off from Zanzibar due to British colonialism. Just the world. Okay, also, unlike the other three goddesses, Dhumavati is related to Shiva, albeit indirectly in some cases, and to his spouse, Sati. Finally, Dhumavati is not identified with these three goddesses in context where one might expect it. For example, in her Nama Stotras, hymns invoking her many names, where she is identified with numerous other goddesses, the names of Nriti, Jeshta, and Alakshmi are not included, a remarkable omission. Dhumavati, as we shall see, also has certain important positive characteristics and is interpreted by some as an effective symbol or power for achieving spiritual knowledge and liberation. Spiritual knowledge. Okay, none of these other three goddesses have such positive aspects. Dhumavati then probably stands in a tradition of inauspicious goddesses like Nriti and Jeshta, who symbolize the most difficult aspects of life and reality in general. So there's a new interview of this Bhutanese Tulku. She is a woman who lives in Bhutan, and she really like went through a lot of hardships according to the interview. And so if you have a chance, you can visit her in Bhutan, I guess, if you're interested in spiritual knowledge, although like in her experience not many people are interested. It is also possible, even likely, that Dhumavati has been consciously modeled on these three goddesses. That she is the same, however, seems to be not the case in the context of the Mahavidyas. Okay, and then there's some origin myths. I'm going to skip this. And then symbol of inauspiciousness as transformative. There can be no question that Dhumavati is a figure who vividly symbolizes all that is conventionally affirmed to be inauspicious. She is often shown sitting in a chariot that has nothing to pull it, and she is a widow. In the context of Hindu society, she is a woman going nowhere. She is the ultimate symbol of unlucky, unattractive, and inauspiciousness. She is nobody socially. She has no place. She does not fit. The crow, which appears as the emblem on her banner or atop her chariot or as her vahana, is a carrion eater and a symbol of death. Indeed, she herself is identified sometimes to resemble a crow. The Prapanjasarasara Samgraha, for example, says that her nose and throat resemble a crow's. She lives in cremation grounds and is so depicted in the painting of her by a contemporary Varanasi artist. In this picture, she is surrounded by 4 cremation fires. On top of each sits a crow. Her thousand-named hymn says that her house is the cremation ground, that she sits on a corpse, wears ashes from the cremation grounds, and blesses those who haunt the cremation grounds. She also wears a dress taken from a corpse in the cremation ground. She is representative of the tamas guna, the aspect of creation associated with lust and ignorance. Her thousand-name hymn says that she likes liquor and meat, which are tamasic. According to the scholar of Tantrism in Varanasi, Dhumavati is the aspect of reality that is old, ugly, and unappealing. The Mahavidyas are supposed to represent the diversity of reality. So we have in female form the young and beautiful and the ugly and fearsome. So this traditional jewelry of India juxtaposes a young with an old gaddi woman for the jewelry purposes. But yeah, sociology. Okay. Dhumavati is generally associated with all that is inauspicious. She dwells in areas of the earth that are perceived to be desolate, such as deserts, abandoned houses, quarrels, mourning children, hunger and thirst, and in widows. The inauspicious, if not dangerous, overtones of Dhumavati as a widow also might be suggested by the Nepalese belief in Boksis, a class of dangerous, inimical spirit who possess widows. To become a Boksi, it is necessary for a woman to sacrifice her husband or son. Widows are here associated with the murder of their husbands and sons with willful evil. They are understood as bringing about their own inauspicious condition by despicable acts or as being vulnerable to possession by evil spirits who will prompt them to undertake such acts. Widows, by definition, are suspect as dangerous beings who are likely to cause trouble and who should therefore be avoided. So Dhumavati is to be feared because she is the symbolic widow. She is the symbolic widow. So during the pandemic, I think in Himachal Pradesh, there was actually a woman who almost did that to her own son. And luckily, the father actually, no, wait. She stayed in a house with her son who passed away from the disease, and she wanted to, stay there for a really long time, and her husband had to like extricate their daughter from the situation because he was like, you are out of your mind and there's nothing I can do to stop you because you love your son so much. So yeah, that was like a really impressionable news story for me about the pandemic in India. Okay. Like the three inauspicious goddesses to whom she is sometimes compared or with whom she is sometimes identified, it seems that Dhumavati is primarily a being to be away from. Indeed, the majority of people are advised not to worship her, and married people should keep her at a distance. That anyone should approach her, worship her, or cultivate a relationship with her seems highly unlikely. In several places, however, it is said that she grants siddhis to those who worship her, and she rescues her devotees from all kinds of trouble, and that she grants all rewards, desires, including ultimate knowledge and liberation. So just think about it. There was like a French film about escort services in the French context, and in that film there is like an older like sex worker who actually continues to like facilitate these businesses, and at some point she also exports like some girl to Africa and she underwent some horrible fate, and that was kind of like the sad ending of the movie where like everyone's just like, oh my gosh, the world has changed, like women can't even be like, glamorous and engage in this work anymore. So like if a lot of people watch that movie, maybe a lot of bad things wouldn't have happened, but alas, that is not the case. Okay, the details for her worship are stipulated, and it must be assumed that at least some adepts worship her and cultivate a rapport with her, indeed seek to become united with her and to realize her presence in themselves according to the logic of tantric sadhana. Tantric sadhana. An inkling of Dhumavati's positive aspect is suggested in a comment made to me by a priest serving as the Dasa Mahavidya Pandal. Dasha Mahavidya Pandal, a temporary shelter for worship during Kali Puja in Calcutta on S.N. Banerjee Street. Very specific street name. After telling me that she is a vision of old age and decay, that she is nearly blind and has loose, wrinkled skin, sagging breasts, and no teeth, and that furthermore she looks fierce, she said that inside her is tender-hearted. The priest at the Dhumavati temple in Varanasi, Panalal Goswami, after telling me about all the inauspicious aspects, emphasized that she should not be approached by happily married men like the author Miss Dr. David Kinsley said that she gives anything the devotee wants, which was unusual among deities. He also said that her worship instills a feeling of wanting to be alone and a distaste for worldly things. In this vein, he said her worship is appropriate for world renouncers. He also said that Dhumavati is partial to unmarried people and to those who have been widowed. He insisted that only unmarried people could withstand her great power and successfully spend a night alone in her temple. These comments are suggestive. According to this priest, Dhumavati attracts and probably encourages a certain kind of independence or solitariness that is experienced outside marriage. Whether this solitariness implies and affirms independence is not clear, and it is important to remember, though, that the highest stages of the spiritual quest in many traditional Hindu texts can only be undertaken alone after the aspirant has left home and family. It is also important to realize that many of the pious Hindus one sees in India are widows who have vowed to spend the rest of their lives undertaking pilgrimages to sacred centers or performing religious rituals at such sites. In most respects, women are living the life of the traditional Hindu world renouncer. One text says that Dhumavati dresses like a mendicant. The priest's comment that Dhumavati instills a distaste for worldly things also relates to the highest stages of the spiritual quest in traditional Hinduism. The world renouncer seeks to achieve a frame of mind that does not covet the comforts and joys of the worldly life. Like Dhumavati herself, who is the form of smoke, is ever moving, never still, the traditional sannyasi wanders the world, never remaining in one place for more than a few days. Why Dhumavati might be effective in instilling these ideas or feelings that is indifferent to the world is explained as the symbolism of goddess Kali and the logic that underlies the Panchatattva ritual, the ritual of the five forbidden things. Jai Ma Kali. Om Aim Hrim Klim Chamundaya Viche. Five forbidden things. Like Kali, with whom she is sometimes identified, she forces her worshippers to acknowledge the inherent miseries of existence and thus encourage an indifference or distaste for the world. In the logic of the Panchatattva ritual, according to which it is spiritually transformative to confront what is forbidden, Dhumavati may be understood as a dramatic symbol of all which is socially rejected. To seek to identify with her by undertaking her worship is to partake of the forbidden and to realize that it is primarily a manifestation of false human categories that underlie what is thought to be pure and impure, auspicious and inauspicious, in a unity that transcends dichotomies, beyond desire for worldly blessings, beyond avoidance of what is thought to be polluting and dangerous, is indifference to these distinctions, is the knowledge of the ultimate without name and form. So with that, you guys can check out some Kabir bhajans on YouTube. I think they feature some older people as well, and they really have like a distaste for like these dichotomies, like Hindu Muslim, and I think it's very instructive for these times. And thank you very much. Om Dhum Dhum Dhumavate Swaha.